Let's start recording. Check, check. Yeah. I got it. All right, so tracking this in After Effects, you could do the tracking in different software if you would want to, but I think After Effects works for most things when it comes to tracking. But if you have to manually track something, it all falls apart really quickly. All right, so I'm going to get this raw garden footage here. And this is an image sequence. PNGs, I know. We'll look at rendering EXRs next week. Import. You know, I'll just import both of these right now. I'll get the green screen one too. Hollywood Camera Work is the green screen one. So we have two different options to work with. All right, let's do the easy one first. Tracking this scene, there's tons to track. The most difficult thing about tracking this scene is that the ground is not flat, which is very important when you're doing tracking and you want to stick objects into a scene. You need to determine where the ground is. If I want to place a giant pumpkin, say, on the ground here, I need to identify where the ground is. The problem with this is that the ground is very broken up dirt that is different heights. A couple inches may not seem like a lot, but it can be devastating with camera tracking. So let's just make a new composition from this footage and let it track. So the tracker in After Effects is in the tracker menu. Just make sure you're selected on your layer and click track camera. And it will chew through this footage and do its automatic thing. Depending on how long your footage is, it could take a while. How difficult it is, it could take a while. It's possible that it might just say straight up failed if you really screw up. Let's let this process. There we go. Now it's going through it. There's only 244 frames here. Tracker. Not enough effect. Tracker. Yeah, if you don't have the tracker menu, it's not an effect. If for some reason you've got closed down, I'm in the default workspace, but if it's not showing for you, you can always get it back in Window Tracker. It's the same thing. So after it finishes, it doesn't really seem like anything happens, except you'll notice these colorful little X's around. And I can actually increase the size of these by messing around with target point size and target size. The point size is the colorful little X's. The target size is the little red bullseye symbol that is floating around when I bring my mouse over. As I scrub this footage, you can see that tracking marks appear and disappear. There's tracking marks on her, there's tracking marks on the ground, there's tracking marks on pretty much everything in the scene. As I hover around, if I zoom in, oops, as I hover, oops. As I hover around the scene, my target is snapping to a triangle that is being drawn between three of these points. And essentially what that is giving me is it's giving me the plane, the average surface plane of those 3 points. So for instance, if I was to hover right here, it is those 3 points that are lit up. That blue one just to the bottom left a little bit, the one on the actual red marker to the right, and then the one right at the top of the target. It's those 3. You can see that little ghostly triangle. Your job is to find the best triangle. You can just click on one like that, or you can also hold down left click and select multiples, lasso select if you want. Lasso selecting is going to average out between all of the ones that you have selected. So sometimes you can't get a good surface just with 3 of them. So you can be benefited by doing more of an average by selecting multiples. Oh, that one doesn't look good. You're trying to look and make sure that the target is parallel to the ground or whatever surface it is that you are trying to do your camera track for. So just try to select points until you find that the target seems situated on the ground, how you would want it. Some of these points are at the top of the pieces of broken dirt, some are at the bottom. That kind of looks okay. This is a trial and error thing. When you're happy with what you have, we need to do 2 things. If you scrub your footage here, it's going to disappear, so be careful. When you're happy with it, you need to right-click and do 2 things. First thing, very important, set ground plane and origin. This is setting the ground plane and the origin, the 0, 0, 0 point, at the middle of this target. So set ground plane and origin. The next thing that's still selected is create solid and camera. Once you have the solid created, you can scrub through it and kind of preview how you did. How's that look? Ideally, it doesn't shift at all on the ground, ideally. And I think the points that I selected did a pretty good job. It doesn't seem to float very much. It seems pretty aligned. If you're happy with that, we're essentially done. But sometimes I like to go a step further, and you don't have to do this. This is not a crucial step. This is just more of a visualization step to feel good about my track. Because remember, this is a multi-step process. We want to feel good about every step in the process. If we don't feel good about a step, we should stop until we do feel good about it, because it's not going to get any better. By the time we end up in Unreal, it's only going to get worse. And you're going to have to do everything over anyways. So sometimes, just for visualization's sake, I will duplicate the solid and then I'll scale it up. Maybe rotate the Z. I don't want to rotate the X or the Y. And maybe even like go to effects and toss a grid on it. There's an effect called grid, believe it or not. And I'll just drag that over top. And that can help me visualize if I'm happy with this or not. Let it play out. This is just for you to feel good about it. It's not an actual crucial step of the process. Does it seem like it's stuck? Towards the end there, I'm not very happy with this, because look at the drift that's happening right here where my cursor is. And I can even see it now that I've made my plane bigger. There is maybe less so with the grid, but if I undo this and look at the red grid, let me scale this back down a little bit. It looks like the right side is kind of coming up a little bit, right? It doesn't look like it's sitting on the ground perfectly. Now, what do you do in this case? Well, you could go back to the first step and try to make a new solid and a new camera. Select new points. Maybe I feel good about this one. Set ground plane and origin. Create solid and camera. Let's try it again. That seems better. I'm going to toss the grid on that again and scale it up. Remember, it's crucial at this step that you don't rotate the plane in any direction except on Z, except spinning it. You don't want to, tip it over. How's this feel? Better. It's still poking up a little bit on the ground. Not in After Effects. No. In that case, your options would be to use a different software or have a cut, an actual cut in the video, and then just slap them together. You know what I mean? Just have a bird fly by the screen really close to the camera as your cut, and then merge the two pieces together, right? The difficulty with doing that in After Effects is that you don't have a lot of control over how big the world After Effects makes. So sometimes you'll bring this over into Unreal or 3D and it will feel really big. And other times it feels really small. So if you do two of them, you might get very different size worlds. Right, right. But those cameras might not be like equivalent to each other size-wise, So like if you're using After Effects, yeah. That is the limit of that. Well, Nuke is Nuke. That's why you pay the big bucks for Nuke. I still don't think you can merge in any of them. They're pretty much standalone tracks. But you have much more control over what is a point and what isn't a point, Like in After Effects just says all of these points, you know? In something like Nuke or Synthesize or Mocha Pro, you could say that is a tracking mark and only that because I know that's a flat surface. You know what I mean? Gives you a lot of control, but you need to know how to use those softwares and you need to spend the tedious amount of time doing those things. We just clicked a button, right? What do you want? We just clicked a button. I think this is acceptable as long as I don't place things over on the extreme edge. But just be aware if you're not happy with it, go back and do it again. I could always try to do a little rotation, although I might screw things up. Let's see what this looks like now. Nah, that's too dangerous. I'm not going to screw it up like that. Let's just keep it the same. So when you're happy with that, I'm not super happy with it, but we got to move on. We need to save our After Effects project. And then we need to go to File, Export, Maxon Cinema 4D Export. File, Export, Maxon Cinema 4D. And it's going to ask you to save a Cinema 4D file. Call it whatever you want. You're going to get this warning that says these 2D layers have been found. The video footage, they will not be exported. That's fine because we're going to recreate this in Cinema anyways and Unreal. So don't worry about this. All we really need is the camera. So, okay. Save the Cinema 4D file wherever. And then we can go and open it up wherever you saved it to. Mine is called Tracking 2025. It is a C4D file. If your computer recognizes it as a Cinema 4D file, you should just be able to open it. Otherwise, you might need to tell Windows that this is a C4D file, etc., etc. If you've never used Cinema before, it's a 3D program. It works pretty similar to all 3D programs. Just the UI is a little bit different. But don't freak out. Just follow along and you'll do everything that you need to do. So if you scrub the timeline here, you can see what seems like our camera movement along with the solid shape that was in After Effects. Just in my case, I put the grid on it, so it's not the grid anymore. It doesn't have the grid material anymore in Cinema. Let me turn the grid off. So this is now in Cinema, which is good. Take a look at it. Make sure it seems pretty right. Make sure the grid is aligned in the right direction. Sometimes the grid can be flipped upside down or something like that. You don't want that. You want it to be flat like the ground if you're tracking the ground. So let's get back to seeing the video. Let's set this all back up. This setup that we do right now, some of it is just visualization to make sure that we're following all the steps properly. Once you feel comfortable with this, you can leave out a lot of these steps, like putting the video in the background and previewing it that way. But I'm going to step through all of these just so we can rebuild what we had. So I want you to go up to Create Environment Background. Create Environment Background. And this is just going to put like a background plate in the background of our world. Everything should turn gray-ish when you do that. Background. Create environment background. So that background is gray because it doesn't have the material on it yet. We need to create a material that is the video texture. Easiest way to do that in Cinema is to click the little material icon up here next to the outliner and then create a new material by clicking the plus. You should probably have one material in there that is the color of your solid from After Effects. So just create a new material. And with it clicked on, you're going to go into the attributes editor over here on the bottom right, and then click on the blank space for texture and browse to wherever that image sequence was of the garden. Click open. It might warn you saying that these files are not in the same path as the project. Who cares? Just click no. Unless you don't care about your hard drive space, you can just click no. Sure. Let's start from new material. So new material, this little material icon, ball circle thing, click that, and then click on the plus to create a new material. And then with the material selected, go down to the attributes editor, and we want to go to the texture section and just click in the big gray file path and browse for wherever your image sequence is and click open. And then with the warning, just click no. And nothing should still seem like it happens. It's because we need to add that material to the background. So just drag the material onto the word that says background in the outliner. And you should see a very low res version of the footage pop up. But if you scrub your video, you should see the video not play, just the camera moves. That's because we haven't told the material that it is a video texture yet. So we need to go back to the material, click on it, and we need to scroll down in the attributes. Oops. Actually, not scroll down. We need to click the drop down for texture. And we want to set this to be animation, not shader. And we also, below animation, want to go to the animation section and click calculate. Calculate will actually bring it in as an image sequence. Now if you scrub, nothing still happens. But it did seem like it updated. You just drag it from here onto the background. So the last step that we need to do to get it to actually animate is go to the viewport tab in the material. So I'm clicked on the material, I click on viewport. Now we need to do two things here. The most important of which is click the animate preview button. Video textures are intense, right? So they're not turned on by default. The program wants to make sure you know what you're doing first. We all know what we're doing, right? Stick with me, stick with me. Another thing that you can do is increase the texture preview size. This just increases the resolution of the material so that it doesn't look so janky, depending on your computer. This isn't necessary to do for the process. This is just to help us visualize that we're doing everything correctly. All right. Now you should be able to scrub the timeline and have it move. I'm just going to shrink down my solid real quick to get back to what you probably all have. All right, good. We have recreated what we had in After Effects. That's good. We want consistency across all of these steps. Very important. Now there is something very important that you need to do. Using After Effects as the 3D camera tracker always does this when you import into Cinema 4D. This plane, if you notice, is not actually on the grid, which is important. If we're saying that the ground is the grid, then I want my solid on the grid. So now you don't move down the solid. You could just grab onto the solid, move it down. Don't do that. Don't do that. We don't want to just move down the solid. We want to move down everything parented to that camera that we imported from After Effects. So we want to grab onto the root up here, the AEP file, whatever you called it, from After Effects. We want to grab onto that root. And this is going to move down the tracker, the solid tracker, and the camera too, because they're parented together. So with that clicked on, you should be able to go to the attributes panel and coordinates. And right here, this is our problem. The Y value, which is up in Cinema and Maya by default, is 540. That's strange. This number 540, 960, it actually comes from because this footage is 1080p, 1920 by 1080. So half of 1080 would be the middle point. Makes it 540 for some reason. We want to make this 0 and drop it to the grid. 0. Now if I hold Alt or Option and spin my viewport, now I can see that the solid is actually sitting on the grid, which is what we want. So now you should get a little bit better results. It might have looked like it was floating before. It might have looked like this before, where it's floating on top. You don't want that. You want it flat on the, oop, mine's not flat anymore. What happened? Undo, undo. Oh no. Just make it 0 again. Looks under. Well, the grid is flickering, so I think it's right there. This is under. This is over. Flickering is good. So now it is locked on the grid, which is good. That's what we want. At this point, we could move to Unreal. And once you get comfortable with this, you don't even really need to create the background or the material. You could just export. You could drop the parented camera and all that, drop that to 0, and then export, save it as a C4D file for Unreal. We're just doing these extra steps so that we can make sure that everything works. Sometimes at this point, I like to go in and go to Create and Mesh and create a bunch of figures or primitive shapes, just so I can check my parallax and feel good about that again. Copy and paste a couple of these guys around. Make sure that you're keeping them on the ground. Yes, it should. For some reason, they're being created at negative y. That's strange. That shouldn't happen. Good eye, though. Let's just move them up. Now they should be on the grid. Maybe I'll duplicate one more and move it into the extreme foreground. You remember, if you move them up in Y, they're going to look like they're floating. Maybe you want them floating. Maybe it's a 3D thing that is floating in midair. If that's the goal. What happened to my other one? Well, moved him way too forward. Here he is. Remember, if you want to do something behind the video footage and you haven't shot this on green screen, this is a real world scenario, you're going to have to rotoscope out the subjects so you can put graphics behind them. That's at a later time, though. So I'm going to let this play, and this feels all right. Things are happening. All right, I'm going to save this now as a C4D file and bring it into Unreal. Be careful, though. There's a special way that you need to do this. You go to File, Save for Cineware. Unreal likes C4D files that are saved in this way. Save for Cineware. And then save the C4D file somewhere.
Out of curiosity, what would happen if you were to try it?
Usually it just doesn't import it with any meshes that you make or anything like that. The camera should be fine, but like the cool thing is we're now going to bring over the solid plane on the floor and the figures into Unreal. So I can compare Unreal, Cinema, make sure that they're good. Consistency across. Saving for Cineware, if you're like, if you're a C4D modeler and you want to start using Unreal, important in that case to make some of the material stuff work and some of the MoGraph stuff work. In our case, less important, although I don't think the meshes would come over if we didn't save for Cineware. All right, let's move into Unreal. Oh wow, I remember this amazing project. I don't know if we can ever top that, honestly. All right, I'm just going to create a new level. And there's a couple things that need to be turned on, plugin wise. There is the Datasmith. Now, all this is spelled out really well in the slides. If you want to follow along in the slides at your own time, we want to turn on Datasmith 4D importer, or C4D importer, and Datasmith importer. So I just go to edit plugins, and this menu pops up. And then up top, I just type in Datasmith. And then there's another plugin too that I turn on, the image plane plugin, image plate plugin. Turn that one on. Turn them on at the same time so you don't have to restart the editor multiple times. These things are in beta because, again, this Unreal Engine doesn't usually get used for these sorts of things. The what? The billboard? It's like a billboard in other softwares. That always faces the camera. That would be if you were to place planes in the environment. Similar sort of idea, you know, that it turns those meshes to face the camera. We are not placing this plane in the environment. This plane is sticking to the camera. Huh? Yes, look at that. Wow, everything's connected. Yes, it's like a glass painting. Probably. I don't know. If you had multiple shots, is what you're saying, right? Well, let's just do it and check it out, all right? This is in beta, like a lot of this stuff, version 0.1, even though it's been this way for a long time. What, did I turn that on? Yes. Yes. Guess I got to restart. So let Unreal restart. Oh yeah, we can't get away from this guy. Love his eyebrows. It's just because that material didn't have the opacity turned on. We could fix that, but I like it better that way. It's a good look. My eyebrows are almost done. It's my best feature. Anyways, new level here. We turn those plugins on. So now that we've turned on the Datasmith plugin, in the quick add button in Unreal, there now is a section for Datasmith. This will not exist if you don't turn on the plugins. So we're not importing through the content browser import. This is a special way to import Datasmith files. So click on Datasmith, file import, and then browse to wherever you saved that file. Where did I save that file? Good question. File, save for somewhere. Desktop. What? Who does that? desktop. Tracking 2025 for Unreal C4D. Seems right. Choose where you want to put it. You can also like right-click on the content folder to create a new folder. This will create a folder with everything nested within it, as you'll see in a second. Click OK. It's going to ask you what you want to import. Usually I just import everything, although we don't have any lights in our scene, so that doesn't matter. The materials don't really matter either because, you know, it's just a gray figure and a green plane, but might as well just import them. Geometry, yes. If I do want to import those figures in the plane, then yeah, you need that checked on. Cameras, absolutely crucial. Animations, crucial, because otherwise our animated camera will not import. When in doubt, just click all of them and leave them all on. Click import. And whoa, look at that, there they are. Although at a different viewpoint because this is the Unreal camera. If I look up there in the sky, it's not a bird or a plane, it is our camera. And when I click on it, look, I get the viewport view of kind of what looks like this, of kind of what looks like this. Oh my gosh, it seems like it's working. Let's keep going. This plane is centered at 0, 0, 0, which is great. So you can build your world around that. A question that I always get asked is, well, I guess there's two types of approaches, right? When you're building a scene, either you do your camera and then you build the world around the camera, or you build your scene and then you bring your camera into your scene, right? The problem that happens, this is not a problem. We have our camera set up. Now I can build my scene around the camera, right? But what if typically this happens with like fab, where people will go and get big environments that they like, right? They can't control where that environment is, so they need to move the camera around the environment instead of moving the environment around the camera. Does that make sense? So if you have a big old environment and you want to move this whole thing around, you can grab onto the top level here and move this, and it moves everything. See, it's moving the plane, it's moving the figures. If I turned around here and looked at the camera, wherever it is, it should be moving the camera as well, right? So you can move this whole package right here, which has all my figures, it has the camera in it, has the little blue plane in it. You can move this wherever you want in your world, and you'll still get the same camera movement. Okay? Just make sure not to rotate it on, don't tilt it or pitch it. You can rotate it on the Z-axis in Unreal, but not on the Y or the X, or it won't work. Okay, now we have to do some recreation again. We have it working seemingly, but we have to put the video footage in here and then start building our world around it. Before we start doing that, let's look at this folder that got imported. So this is what came with the C4D file. A folder of animations, the geometries, which is different pieces of the figures, apparently, materials, which is the materials, textures. Don't think that we can use this. This is just a still texture. So we basically ignore that. In the animations section, the animations folder, there is a level sequence. We don't create our own level sequence for this. We use this one. So if you drag this into the world, now it will pop up in the level sequences section right there. It's not going to pop up here unless you actually put it into the world. Honestly, you don't even have to put it in the world. You could just double click it and open it up. But I usually put it in the world. Now it's the same sort of thing as if we created a camera in Unreal. It's just this one has keyframes. Now if I click the little camera icon, I can scrub the footage and it looks like my viewport. It looks like C4D. It looks like After Effects. Good. We just need to put the video footage behind it. It's always a good suggestion to save right now. Oops. Make sure you do save all. And now it's not much different than what we've done before with video textures. There is one more thing that we have to do though. It's that image plate. Remember we turned that plugin on. So I'm gonna eject from this camera, unclick it so I'm not looking through the camera anymore. Be careful you're not looking through the camera and then you go and drive the camera somewhere else because you're gonna mess up your keyframes. This shouldn't happen if you have this button clicked on. This is the auto keyframe button. If you have this button clicked on and then you accidentally go and drive yourself across the world because you forget that you're looking through the camera and not the perspective camera, yeah, you're gonna save that keyframe of your screw up. I've done it before. It happens all the time still. Just be cautious of that. Or turn off the auto keyframe button or eject from it. I'm going to turn around and look at my camera. So over in the components view right here, I'm going to go to add and type in image plate. Assuming that you've turned on the plugin, you will have an option for image plate here. If you didn't turn on the plugin, you're not going to say image plate. Click it. Nothing seems like it happened. That's because the image plate. Oh, actually, I'm an idiot. I added the image plate to my sequence, not the camera. Whoops. Make sure you're clicked on the right thing first. Click on the camera. Derp. Go to add image plate. Image plate. Now there's a little itty bitty image plate right there. Where do you think we need to put the image plate? How far? In front of these guys? Behind those guys, right? Right, because it's like a background, right? Behind any 3D objects that you want to be in front of it, right? So go ahead and, well, in this case, I just want these guys to be behind it, so I'm just going to drag it behind them. Just eyeball it. If you place something way in the distance there, then you're going to need it way back there. Because otherwise, it's going to cover up any 3D objects that you have back there. It does scale. It scales and it fills the whole frame. To be honest, though, since we're just using Unreal as a previs tool and we're just going to render out the 3D objects, it almost doesn't even matter what it's for. It's for us. It's for us to design the world around, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be at 0.0001. Yeah. So we can go and grab onto the image plate. Or just grab onto the numbers back in the transform panel here. And just drag it back. For some reason, Unreal's not giving me the transform tools on this. I'm not sure why. Game mode? No. That's weird. Sometimes this happens when I'm recording. I can do it. There it is. I just needed to click off of it and click on it. You do want to do this in local space instead of world space, but I don't think it matters with the image plane because it still seems aligned even though I'm in world space right now. So just drag it back.
and you want to like where they'll put a full plate and a back plate, could you would that work in this sort of scenario?
You want to have two of them. Yes, that would work. But if you're going to do something like that, it would be better to learn how to use something called composure in Unreal. Composure is the actual compositing method used in Unreal. It works. It basically makes composited plates out of actors so that you're not dragging an image plate behind something. You're actually defining these actors are in the foreground. It's kind of it's more like node-based compositing actually. But I feel like I'm probably one of the 10 people in the world that actually know how to use it. And anytime I used to teach it to students, but nobody used it. They just wanted to do this way. So I stopped doing it.
I mean, this is really cool. So.
Yeah. The reason for composure matters less with since we're compositing it in post. But if we were doing real-time compositing, we might want to use composure because we could define foreground, middle ground, background in the software itself. But that's a tale for another time. Maybe remind me next week if we have time, and I'll show you a project where I have it used for. But anyways, drag the image plate behind. Congratulations. It is the default texture in Unreal. Now, everything looks good, but we need our video. All right. So all we need to do is just create a video texture like we've done before. I'm just going to race through this. Media, image media source. We've done all of this before. What do we want to call this? Video. Double click on it. Click on the little file path button. Browse to wherever this is saved at. Image sequence, open. I want to set the frame rate. This is especially more important now that we're doing tracking. Frame rate, set it, set it. If you do not set this, you will probably have a problem. Go ahead and save. We can click open just to make sure that it works. It works. Cool. Close that down. Next thing we need, remember we need to create media players. We always want to add the media texture too, because we are going to create a material out of this. Click OK. We want to call this video. Good, good. Now we need to create a material. We'll create a material from this texture. We want to go into the material and set this as unlit. So I need to make it an emissive texture. Set the RGB to emissive, just like we did before. Not default lit, but unlit, because I want the lighting from my video to be the lighting. I don't want this to be lit by the world. You know, this video is, you know, the lighting here is, it was a pretty overcast day. There's not really any lighting. It's just kind of flat, shadowless. But still, we don't want the Unreal light to affect that. I click save on the material. I want to put the material on the image plate. So remember, the image plate is in the camera. It's a component of the camera. This used to be more visible, but they kind of buried it now. If you click on image plate and you scroll down, 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 down to the image plate section and click advanced, image plate advanced, that's where you can put the material. So drag the material on, it should turn black. Oh, there's that diagonal line that we talked about because I'm clicked on the camera. If I unclick the camera, it disappears. If I click on the camera, it comes back. There's the motion path of the camera too. If I go back to sequencer, remember there's still another thing we need to do. We need to actually make a media track. Just like we've done before. Click on media, click the plus, source, video, drag it back. Ooh, looks like the film strip is the same length as the keyframes. That's good. But still nothing, because we still have to do one more step with the video. Right click on the film strip, go to properties, and set the media texture to whatever texture that you made for this video. Mine was called MP underscore video underscore video. Great name. There it is. Very washed out because that tone mapping and auto exposure is happening. We can look at that next. But our main concern is the tracking. And it looks pretty good. Be aware that if it starts to buffer, it may look like the tracking starts to fall apart. It's most likely okay. It's just that it got out of sync because it was buffering. So just be aware, play it in little bursts where you have the green, the cached bar here. Or render it out if you're really paranoid. Then everything should be synced up. But especially if you have a slower computer, you may see this. You see it slowed down a little bit, got a little out of sync, but then it caught back up. So if you feel paranoid, just take your time with it. Or render out like a proxy version of the footage. This is 1080p footage. It's not that large. May I render this out at 720 or a smaller resolution if my computer's really crappy? Use that footage instead. Remember, this is just previs. It's just for us to build the world around. It's not the final picture. Okay. But this looks all right. I'm gonna get rid of this floor that came with Unreal. It's a little jerky there when it buffers, but it is working. Cool. Other things that I could do, let's try to make this look a little bit better. So in the camera, you click on the camera and you scroll down in the settings, or you just in the search, you type in exposure. I usually like to set this metering mode to auto exposure basic, and then I turn off auto exposure completely by clicking on the max and min EV buttons. And this is setting the max and minimum auto exposure brightness, and I make these numbers the same because there can't be any change if the max and min are the same. You may have to change these to different values depending on what it looks like. Or you don't make them different values. You may have to just change both of them. You're making it bigger numbers, making the exposure darker. Making them smaller numbers is brightening things up a little bit. Get it. Remember, Unreal's not a compositing program, so we're kind of fudging things here, right? I'm just trying to make it close to what the original footage was. This seems close-ish, but you want the max and min to be the same. That means you're turning auto exposure off. So auto exposure basic, and then set the max and min. If I unclick on the camera, it looks better, but it's still a little washed out. That's because the tone mapping is on too. So if I click back on the camera, and in the search, instead of exposure, I type tone, there's the tone curve amount set to full power right now. If I change this to 0, you can see how gray and flat it made the Unreal world. That's okay if you're doing color grading and you're comfortable with that. It's not a bad idea to have it be flat, but it should make our footage look better. It's still a little bright. I might darken it down a little bit, but it's not washed out anymore. Looks much closer to this. It's never going to look exactly like it, but it's pretty close. Now you can start your world building. The lighting on my figures does not really match the lighting in the scene at all. I'm going to have to change the sun and raise the skylight up to take care of this harsh lighting. But this is world building time. We've done it. We've done it, y'all. We've done it. I call this blue plane with 3 figures. Very, very abstract. Actually, it's not really abstract at all. Huh? What? Well, I didn't tell you to. That's fine. That's fine. We haven't done that yet. Oh, so you didn't know? It's scary to move the camera, you know? It's very scary. You got to do all this other stuff. Yeah, if you don't move the camera, you don't need to go through any of this stuff. But now we did because moving the camera is cool. Um, now I would start to build the worlds just like I would any other time. Go to Fab, put the Fab tab down here. Go get some pumpkins. I'm cheap, so we're gonna get some free pumpkins. Ooh, these guys are cute and free. Right. Made by Guy in a Poncho, apparently. Thanks, Guy in a Poncho. Let's download this. Add to project. I also need some dirt, I think. Dirt, but 3D model dirt. I think I have. I'm specifically looking for some Megascans dirt, which I have all the Megascans. Oops, publishers. Oh, come on. Yeah. Filters, publishers. Quixel. Quixel. Dirt. Let's look for it. So many choices. I don't know. I'm just going to pick one. It's not going to be perfect. There was a forest one that I always like to use. But we want to get it right. Fallen pine tree. I think I have. Let's just do fallen pine. Oh, here's one. Oh, look at that one. Just leaves and dirt. Medium quality is good enough for me for this test. All right, let's start building. Another thing that you usually want to do is, well, not necessarily when you do your final render. But another reason that this looks kind of washed out is because exponential height fog is on. Look at that. Maybe you want exponential height fog on your meshes though. So, you kind of need to tolerate some of these Unreal quirks. Remember, the video that we see here is just previs. Although, if you wanted the final render to be Unreal, then you'd have to deal with that. Where's our terrain? Here we go. Drag it in. I want to put this on the ground, so I need to make sure that it's at 0, 0, 0. It is very small. Scale it up. This is another thing you don't have a ton of control over with After Effects is how big it makes your world. So like right now, I scaled the heck out of this terrain, where I don't know, in real world size this was. Sometimes it shows, physical size of this in the real world was 2.5 meters by 1.5 meters. Well, I just multiplied that by 16. So that's huge. It's like all of Myrtle Avenue now. With more powerful tracking software, you can define things like the scale, so you can keep these real world scales a little bit better. But let's just start dragging this out. You know, I'm gonna delete all my little dudes. Oh no. Oh no. Are you kidding me? That's super lame. No, that's dumb. Wow. You know, I'm gonna go crazy here. I'm just gonna delete them from my content browser instead. I do not suggest doing this, but please don't crash. What? Are you kidding me? Well, now it's getting more Halloweeny. We don't even need the pumpkins. Whew. Whew. That was a close one. All right. Let's start getting our. Where's our pumpkin at? Pumpkin. Static meshes. Was this a bunch of pumpkins? Oh, also very tiny. Let's scale them up. Oh, it's a family of pumpkins. I see. Well, that's fine. I don't have time to separate them right now. They are a family. Right? Gotta make them on the dirt. So now you just get into compositing ideas, like how much real world do you want to peek through? Is it just the person? Well, in that case, why did you shoot it on location? Those are decisions that you have to make, right? Like what feels appropriate? In my suggestion, and what I did for, if you remember back to the slides here, what I did in the example was a combination of 3D ground and the video ground. What really helped here, I don't know if you can see on the projector, but that is real video grass. But you can see a line, a seam right there from the fake dirt that I'm putting it on. But then I should also bring in 3D grass that looks similar to the real world grass, just help bridge the worlds from the virtual to the real between each other. Because clearly realism is the goal here with these giant 3-foot tall pumpkins. But you know what I mean. But we don't have time to do that right now. So I'm just throwing in a couple meshes, but you know, I'm going to turn off that. I deleted them, but they're still here. The reference is still there. Oh no. Yep. Oh, it's a little bit. Oh, see the lag there? So I jerk it around. Yeah, the buff. Now that I put more meshes in here, it's struggling a little bit more. It is tracked. It's just the buffering. And sometimes it helps to go frame by frame with the keyboard arrows. You can see that it is tracked. Fine. Even more pumpkins. I need to eject from my camera. That pumpkins in front of a backplate. Same thing as what you would do in Maya. And this is the same. You could have stopped at Cinema 4D and just done this all in Cinema 4D. But we use Unreal, so it's faster. Oh, that's not looking that terrible up front, to be honest. Just need to fix the lighting. Super harsh shadows. Questions? We just ran through that whole thing. That's a lot. It's pretty easy. It's just there's a lot of little steps. As long as you don't mess up, famous last words, it'll be fine. It's just a lot of little steps. But none of it is that hard. Just you got to make sure you check all the right boxes. And yeah, it looks really cool when you track the camera and move around. I've been doing that for a long, long time. And even just doing this stupid little thing with the pumpkins that isn't even lit right, it still makes me excited just to see it move with the video footage. It's magic. And that's why I got into VFX in the first place. It's movie magic. Next week, we'll talk about rendering. How do we get this out of Unreal in a higher fidelity fashion? How do we get it out in layers so that we have foreground pieces and background pieces that we can then composite together? And maybe we'll see what else we can get into, depending on how much time we have. Next week, you need to post your keyed out footage to the Canvas assignment. Okay? That's it. What? Oh, a background.
Yeah.
Just transparent. Fine. Yeah. I just want to make sure that everybody can do it and not use Premiere or CapCut. And because, it kind of is essential for our final project. All right. We'll see you next week. There are some of you that are on an email chain about the motion capture suit that I'm debugging. I may reach out to you and see if you're around. So I really just need your body to put on another suit, which is very important because we're trying to get the two-person tracking working. But stand by for that email. If you can't do it, no big deal. There's a lot of other people on the chain.
I don't know if I'm on, but I would be down.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll anybody that's not on it, I can contact you or let me know just if you're interested now, and I could reach out to you too. See ya. See ya. See ya. See ya.